When it comes to home backup inverters, there is a lot of options on the market. Some of these brands have been around since the beginning, and other brands are cutting through the market with products that are challenging performance and raising our expectations when it comes to inverters and how they can operate. But when it comes to actually purchasing an inverter for your home, is it worth spending money on a newer company and taking a risk on innovation, or should you just stick with good old reliable? So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. Nothing about going solar is ever easy. From sizing your equipment and picking the right brands to installation, everything in the whole process can seem quite intimidating. And a lot of times you think all these products just kind of do the same thing, but that's not always the case. Now, before we jump into anything in today's video, we have full review videos of both of these inverters on the channel already if you want to check them out. We'll also leave links down below to both products and any coupon codes we can get to save you guys some money. And we have our solar installer quiz. So it takes you under a minute and it connects you with a local installer based on where you live and what your needs are, what you're actually trying to accomplish, that we have actually vetted and recommend for you guys. But before we get into where each of these inverters has an edge over the other one, we're gonna hit you with a super quick spec teardown on the EG4 FlexBOSS21 and the Sol-Ark 18K. So first up, as you could probably tell just by looking at them, the Sol-Ark is a little bit heavier, weighs 137 pounds. The FlexBOSS is 121 pounds, probably because it's missing that 200 amp pass-through. The Sol-Ark can actually accept up to 28,800 watts of solar input, which is a massive amount, whereas the FlexBOSS can only do about 21,000, which is still a lot. When it comes to paralleling these units to power big scenarios, you can parallel up to 12 of the Sol-Ark 18Ks, and you can get up to 16 of the FlexBOSS21s. One of the big differences between these two is idle consumption. So when the inverter is on, it's not doing anything, it's just providing AC power for you to use. How much power is it consuming from your batteries? The Sol-Ark consumes about 108 watts every hour just idling, being on, whereas the FlexBOSS21 is only 65 watts per hour, which is an insane difference. That just means your batteries on this inverter will last a lot longer than the same stack of batteries connected to this inverter. Now, when it comes to actual output of these inverters, which we have not gotten to yet, the Sol-Ark can do 18,000 watts of output. That's its max. The FlexBOSS can do 12,000 watts. When solar is present, it can do up to 16,000 watts, which is kind of nice. I guess they're just expecting you to run most of your loads during the day when the sun is out. But there is a pretty sizable difference just purely off-grid between the FlexBOSS and the Sol-Ark. There's also a noticeable difference in the charge current, so how fast you can put AC power into these to then charge your batteries or pass it through or whatever. This Sol-Ark can do 350 amps. The FlexBOSS21 can only do 250 amps. When it comes to the actual builds, the Sol-Ark has the screen built in. It's kind of a dated feel. It's like running Windows Vista. This thing has no screen at all, just has your little indicator lights. And you can go ahead and buy their little additional screen that you just kind of plug in underneath. You have to open the door to see it, but it's the same screen EG4 uses on most of their products. It works pretty nice, and for $100, I would actually say it's worth it. Both of these units, you can use a Wi-Fi dongle and you can actually connect them to either a monitoring site or an app. The Sol-Ark stuff is a little bit dated. Again, like the screen, everything just kind of feels a little bit old. EG4's monitoring feels really good. It's all real time. You can see all the different pieces and components that you have in your system. We do prefer using that software. And another big difference that a lot of you guys will actually care about more so is that EG4 allows you to run your own updates. You can just download the update, put it directly on your device. Sol-Ark wants to push those updates through themselves. You actually have to call someone, schedule it, they have to hook up to your dongle that's connected, they run the update through for you, which isn't always a big deal, but some people that want to be in control of their whole system won't love that. That also means that if you're using this thing off grid, you're gonna have to figure out a way to get internet to actually push that update through, whereas with the EG4, you could just download the update onto something, drive up to your cabin, plug it in, put it on. You don't have to have any service at all. And at the time of filming this video, with our discount code, the Sol-Ark 18K is $6,430, whereas EG4's FlexBOSS21 is $3,579. Of course, the FlexBOSS21 is purely off-grid, whereas this is already a hybrid inverter. So it's intended that you pair it with the GridBOSS if you actually want to hook it up as a true grid-tied system. Even the price of this paired with the GridBOSS though is only $5,624, and it does provide you a bit more features and functionality having an entire other unit versus just building the 200 amp pass-through directly into the inverter. One of the biggest places that EG4 has an edge is when it comes to customer support. The big thing that we've noticed with working with both of these brands a lot over the years is that EG4 seems to get you to the right person almost right away. Like when you call Signature Solar, you get put directly in contact with a technician that can help you solve all of your problems. You get everything dealt with right there and then, like immediately. Whereas with a brand like Sol-Ark, it's almost like the initial person that answers the phone isn't the right person. They'll kind of document your problems and set up a call with you to have, if you need it, with a level 2 technician. So it's a bit more of a process. It's not really like an immediate solution. Every time we've ever had an issue with them, it does take a little bit longer to get that sorted out. It is really nice to just call a company and get put directly in touch with someone that can help you. The next thing that we really noticed is everything goes a lot smoother when you have an EG4 system. So EG4 makes all the parts and components that you may need to build a kit, and all the UL listings work together with each other. So if you buy an EG4 inverter and an EG4 battery, not only is there documentation for how to connect them together, videos for how to plug them all in together, they come programmed to work with each other directly out of the box. You don't have to do any weird stuff. And if you do need to work with a battery that isn't EG4, again, you get put really quickly in touch with someone who's more than happy to help you hook that all up. Whereas when you go with the Sol-Ark, they don't make their own batteries, so you're always gonna be going with another brand. And all the brands that they do work with are all brands that we haven't had the best experience with here at the lab. We don't actually have like a favorite brand we would recommend you use with a Sol-Ark product, which is kind of a buzzkill. And obviously a really big one is not that this inverter is a lot cheaper than the Sol-Ark, because it is, yes, less technically of an inverter, but it's that when you pair it with that GridBOSS, you get all the extra functionality that you don't get with the Sol-Ark, even though the Sol-Ark is more money up front. So with that GridBOSS, you can pair multiple FlexBOSS inverters to it. You have that 200 amp pass-through. You get multiple smart load breakers. So you could program that to do things like AC coupling, or you could just do smart load shedding so the unit can recognize like, hey, we're getting kind of low on battery. We shouldn't prioritize your EV charger. We'll just turn that off. All that stuff is done through the GridBOSS. And yes, Sol-Ark does in some capabilities have the smart loads, but when you go ahead and grab the GridBOSS, you just get more functionality, more smart load options, all that kind of stuff. The 200 amp pass-through is built into there, which is how you grid tie your system. It just ends up becoming a more bang for your buck. And tying back to the GridBOSS, one of the big things with that is that it can serve as an actual service entrance. You could get your 200 amps from the grid, pass it directly through, or even though the Sol-Ark has the 200 amp pass-through, it can't actually serve as a service entrance. You still have to get an MID. So either way, like even if you buy the FlexBOSS or the Sol-Ark, you're still spending extra money to be able to connect it to your grid. The GridBOSS just gives you a ton of extra features and you're still cheaper than just one Sol-Ark 18K. So the first pro for the Sol-Ark 18K is that it is just simpler. It's one unit. You don't have to have like the FlexBOSS and the GridBOSS, you have to have two things on the wall. There's a lot more going on if you want to use the 200 amp pass-through. This is one inverter. It's not a whole lot bigger than the FlexBOSS, and everything is built into one package. It does give you the smart load options. It does give you all that kind of stuff. So a huge pro is just not having to take up as much room, especially if you don't have a lot of room to dedicate to putting these things on the wall. The Sol-Ark has also always done really well in our testing. It surges really well, it performs really good. I wouldn't say it's nice, but it does have a built-in screen, which is nice to go up and just be able to read everything directly from the front. It's not an additional feature. It's not something you gotta open the door to see. The FlexBOSS is cool that you can get it, but it does hide away. It just takes an extra step if something's going wrong to open that door and check what's actually going on with your system. Whereas this, you could just look at the screen right here and figure it all out. And since we gave a whole point to the GridBOSS when we were talking about the FlexBOSS, it is worth noting that when you go ahead and open up these Sol-Arks, it just looks like a traditional inverter on the inside, but the generator port, you're actually able to reprogram it to do a couple different things. Like you could do AC coupling with it. So basically when the inverter load starts getting pretty high, you can click on another inverter and turn on a secondary power source. You can also just do smart load shedding again. It can recognize a load, turn off whatever's connected to it to make sure you save your batteries up. And so while it just looks like a normal inverter on the inside, there is a lot of cool little functions that Sol-Ark has built into these inverters. And at the end of the day, Sol-Ark has been used by installers for years. And so it is well known that they are a trusted brand. A lot of companies are gonna be able to do the install at your place for you with a product like this. and the user experience once it's set up and working for you will be great. So at the end of the day, both of these are great inverters. If you asked us which one we would actually recommend to you, assuming you could make the slightly smaller inverter on the FlexBOSS work, we would recommend the FlexBOSS, and if you need it tied to the grid, pair it with the GridBOSS. Reason being is that you don't have to spend as much money, but more importantly, you get more functionality for your money. Like your money's going a longer way. The performance is great, the customer support is great, and you're just gonna have a little bit of a better user experience, especially if you're setting everything up yourself, pairing it with EG4 batteries, doing all that kind of stuff. Not to say that Sol-Ark can't be set up great, we just find it's a little bit less DIY friendly. But if someone's gonna come in and install this at your house, and that's kind of why you're looking at it, it is a great product, and I would 100% still recommend going with it. That being said, we will leave links, like we said, to both of these down below, as well as any discount codes that we can get to save you guys some money. We'll leave the full-length review videos to each of these right here, and also the solar company quiz. It takes you under a minute, connects you with a company based on your needs. Otherwise, that's all we got for you guys today. Make sure you're subscribed if you are not already. We will catch you next time. Peace out and stay charged.